Hello, my friends. Welcome once again to Kardec Radio. This is Spiritism, a closer look. We do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Luiz Lima here, broadcasting from Orlando, Florida today, and I'll be your host for tonight's program. On this program, we are going to take a closer look at sadness. It's something that, it's this feeling that's simply part of our journey. We've all at one point experienced sadness on this life, maybe on a previous life as well, actually, very likely. And sadness at times you will come and visit. So, how does Spiritism see all of this? Us dealing with sadness and having to experience that. So, first of all, Spiritism does not see sadness as a punishment and does not see sadness as a weakness. It's simply a natural emotion that we all have. And we do have several types of emotions. Sadness is one of them. So, from the Spiritist perspective, sadness will not last forever because it belongs in the spirit realm. It's something from our spiritual side. And the spiritual side has to do with the intelligent principle, and it has to do with evolution. So it will go away at one point. Not necessarily in this life, maybe several lifetimes ahead. But we will be done with it one day because of evolution. And it's not something connected to the material illusions. It is connected to our spirit life. And that's why it's going to go away at one point. Because on the spirit life, we all do, evolution. We get better, we improve, we grow spiritually, morally. So at one point, we're not going to experience sadness anymore. But for now, we are all here on this journey. And what makes us sad? What triggers sadness? That's a better question. What triggers sadness? Well, I think we need to look at two things. From the human experience point of view, so human life here, incarnated and so from that perspective, sadness arises from when we face circumstances such as, difficulties in life, struggles, disappointments, losses. All these things will, create situations for us to feel this sadness. And it is that way because we are sensitive beings. We feel things. We are capable of love. We're capable of, longing. And so we experience feelings. That's from the human perspective. Now, from the spiritist perspective, sadness takes place in our lives because perfect happiness is not possible on earth. And when we experience something that doesn't make us happy, we feel something, and that something is this sadness. So Spiritism will explain to us, and that's what we're going to discuss here a little bit. It will show us that sadness arises from us not being able to be perfect on earth. So let's get into this a little bit more. What would we saw things that can trigger sadness, but what are the actual causes of sadness? What can we list, if you will, as causes of sadness? Well, let's divide this in two parts. There are causes related to the material world and causes related to the spirit life. So let's go one at a time. Causes for sadness in our material life. loss of possessions, loss of status, social status, loss, financial struggles, health problems, health issues, illnesses, separation in a relationship, loss of loved ones. All these things are related to our physical material life here, and it will cause sadness. Now, also, there are causes that are not related to the material life. They're related strictly to the spirit life, that we are spirits incarnated here. So we could say, for example, memories of the past. You know, sometimes you just think of something which is not something you're living here today in your spirit life. You just remember something, it makes you sad. Remorse, influence of low order spirits, you know, trying to prey upon us. They will bring this sense, or several of them actually, will be around us, although we cannot see with our physical eyes, but they will be here influencing us. They are low order spirits. So they will make us feel this sensation of, you know, this sadness. So these are some of the possibilities here. Not all of them, obviously. But there's a very interesting thing, which is when spirits were transmigrated from Capella over to the earth, and that's like 30,000 years ago, plus 30,000 plus years ago. It's a period of time. It's not a spotted event. When these spirits came from Capella to the earth, they came for a reason. They were, Capella was going through, you know, a process of improvement, moral growth, and certain spirits could not just, you know, take it. They would not be able to follow the path. So they were transmigrated over here to the earth, so they could live here, you know, make up for their faults and problems, and then go back to Capella. When they came here and reincarnated on earth, they had this general sense of this melancholy, this sadness, because of they were missing what they had. They came to a place, earth, that was much worse than what they had, but they had to be transmigrated because their moral standards were not up to the standards in Capella, but they were similar to the ones on earth. Capella is much more, was and is much more advanced than earth in terms of, you know, moral improvements. So they came over here, start incarnating here, and they kind of miss Capella. They had a better life. They lived there once, so they wanted to return. They had this inner desire to return. But what happens is they have to be here. They had to go through, you know, a process of growth, a minimum growth, so they could go back. Meanwhile, they felt this general sense of sadness. So, from the Spiritist point of view, what can we say sadness is for? Well, what is the purpose of, you know, feeling like that? There's got to be a purpose. Everything in life has a purpose. So Spiritism is going to explain that sadness is like a teacher that invites us to stop and reflect and grow in faith, in morality, in several things. It will, you know, it will invite us to do that. Sadness has a tendency to develop compassion within. So those who have felt sadness become more sensitive to the pain of others going through the same things. I cannot understand a person going through suffering a certain struggle if I haven't felt that or went through that process myself. So when I've experienced that, then I feel this compassion, and you know, I can only feel that compassion because I went through the sadness, which is the learning process. Those who have never suffered struggles cannot understand other people's similar struggles. So when we endure sadness, we develop solidarity, we develop empathy. So it becomes this tool to grow. Spiritism also teaches that one of our main missions on earth is to learn fraternal love. And sadness makes us more sensitive to pain of our brothers and sisters. So it kind of prepares us to serve. It's incredible, right? It's like preparing us to be able to serve others. Sadness fosters detachment. You know, when it reminds us that material things are temporary. The only thing that's going to stay is the soul, which is going to survive death and so and so. Sadness can guide us toward prayer and spiritual support. It opens our channels for inspiration and higher spirits rather than lower spirits being around us, influencing us negatively. So sadness forces us to look inward, to evaluate, you know, life itself, the true purpose of existence. It's not something, meaningless burden. It's more like an alarm of the soul. So we are experiencing this sadness. Okay, let's see what's happening. So we are going through some sort of inner imbalance, or maybe an unresolved spiritual circumstance that we need a lesson on. So sadness teaches us that lasting happiness cannot depend on earthly circumstances. It's part of our life as a spirit, incarnated, but as a spirit. We can also say that sadness exists to kind of awaken the soul, teach, and transform. Because if we don't get out of it to transform ourselves, we're going to stay in an infinite loop. So we need to learn from it. We go through the process. We feel sad at times, different circumstances, but we got to learn from it. So it kind of reminds us that we are not destined to the imperfections of life forever and ever. No, we need to grow. We need to, have this serenity of, the higher planes carry. So sadness is not this, I would say, despair. It's awakening. There's nothing wrong with it in the sense that it's something as a punishment. It's not punishment. We just need to learn from it. So how do we deal with sadness as we go along and we have to experience? How do we deal with this? Well, several things we can say here. First, prayer is the number one thing that comes to mind. If you're feeling sad, if you're like, I want to be on my corner here all by myself, thinking of the worst things, no. Let's just go to the corner, yes, but let's, connect to the higher realms. Let's do some prayer, some meditation. Let me have my quiet time with myself here, connecting to God, to bring me peace. The peace that I don't have when I'm sad, that peace will come from above. In moments of sadness, the spirits become more open to prayer. Us as spirits, our spirit becomes more open to prayer, more open to inspiration from above, more open to influence from good, beneficent spirits. So we just kind of go to our corner, make our prayer, our, shut up with this dialogue, feel our connection with God, and just spend the moments that we need to recover and recoup. And we can do this several times a day if needed, until we are able to start, clearing the clouds and feeling better, feeling more energetic, more dynamic, and then go on to live our lives. And again, sadness is not a spotted point in our lifetime. You will come back. You will come back. And that's one of the things that we can do to cope with it. Another thing we can do is serve others, charity and service. When we extend our hands to somebody else, we forget our own burdens. I always say this. Let's say, for example, that you had gone through the process of getting, let's put an example here, a difficult medical diagnostic for an illness, something that's really frightening to you. So you were given this diagnostic, and you had to go through the initial days and thinking about it, and maybe discussing with your doctors and nurses, whatever, family members, and then you start going to treatment, and treatment, you have to do certain things. You're going to go through medicine, you're going to go through a bunch of exams, and so things are progressing to get you out of that. If you have experienced that, let's just say 6 months after your initial diagnostic, so now you carry within 6 months of experience on dealing with this, you are now able to serve, to do charity work and serve others who have just gotten the same diagnostic that you did. Because you know ahead of time what they're going to go through. You have felt this thing, this burden. You lived through it, and you're going to help others now. So that's what I was saying before. It kind of prepares us to serve others. It's all part of the process. I can serve others better when I experienced what they are going through. Another way to deal with sadness is study. Actually, study helps us deal through all processes of anything. Studying Spiritism, it provides clarity. Spiritism is I love to say this, Spiritism is very black and white. We got questions and answers very clearly stated. It's not something like, oh yeah, no, man, maybe. It's very clear. There's a tremendous amount of clarity in the information that Spiritism provides us. So it reminds us of the immortality of the soul, which, for those who do not believe it, it's a lot more difficult to deal with sadness. If you don't believe in anything after life, if the last physical life day is the last day forever and ever, you run against time. And nobody can do absolutely everything that you want to do within one lifetime. It's much more challenging, much more difficult. By studying and understanding the information that we have in Spiritism, it takes us to a different level of understanding, comprehension. Another thing that we can do to deal with sadness, healthy habits. Take care of our body, contact with nature, drink water, you know, to the extent that we should, practicing activities that support spiritual balance, uplifting activities, reading, you know, good books that can bring us knowledge. All of these things, they will help us go through the process. Another thing we can do, and we should do anytime, not only when we are sad, trust in divine providence. You see, when we trust the divine providence, it doesn't mean that in 5 minutes, in a snap of fingers, everything is going to be nice and clean and the clouds above our heads are just going to disappear. No. What trust in divine providence does for us is gives us strength through knowledge to face what we have to face, because we are facing what we are facing because of wrongdoings of the past. We are living in a world of trials and expiations. Earth is not the only one, but it's one of them. And spirits living here, spirits who are housed here, incarnated or discarnated, are spirits who have a tremendous moral debt. And they have to overcome that. In order to overcome, they are given the opportunity to live in certain planets, one which will serve for them for the experience. Earth is one of them. So you see, this is all, we're not talking about one lifetime, but we have to understand all of this. And then divine providence makes sense, because we are given several opportunities to, be better, get away from this state of sadness that we experience several times. Studying Spiritism helps. Understanding what the spirits on the other side are telling us helps. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, there is a lot of information and analysis by Allan Kardec in regards to that. And one of the things that is clear is sadness is not condemnation. It's just a moment that we need to be consoled by God. Comfort comes through the certainty that life continues. But if we don't have that certainty, if we don't believe it, it becomes more difficult. Then we feel discomfort. We feel this sadness because of this anxiety of not knowing what's coming. Oh, it could be really bad. It could be a problem. So the understanding of how things work in the spirit world matters. You will help us. Divine justice never fails. Never, ever. So in short, sadness is not this enemy. It's a message, it's an alarm system. It's a message of the soul. It's a messenger of the soul. And it reminds us that the life here on earth is temporary. So these struggles that we go through are temporary. If we have faith, if we have if we do charity work, if we have hope, then all sadness transforms into serenity and wisdom. And that's what we should do. Every time we are sad, stop. It's a lesson. What am I supposed to learn here? How did I get to this point? What's taking me out of my comfort zone, if you will? What do I have to do to get out of this thing, of this state of sadness? So it could be, we mentioned several causes, but as a consequence of feeling the sadness, these are the opportunities that we have for patience, for resignation, for you know increase our faith. The trust of God refines the spirit. It all depends on us. So what I think we should take away from all of this is sadness is not a punishment, is not a weakness, meaning it's okay to be sad. It will make us better so we can serve others because we are experiencing this as a learning process. It's kind of going to a school. You cannot be a teacher of anything if you haven't learned what you have to learn. You cannot be a math teacher if you didn't study math. Or it's the same thing. You cannot serve people undergoing struggles and sadness if we haven't felt that before and experienced in our own favor by learning from it. Thank you so very much for joining us today. Spiritism, a closer look. Again, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. We'll be here next week. Thanks so much.